after speedrunning Skate 2 for a whole month, and then spending a whole nother month putting together that video and created a 4-hour monster, I think I deserved a break, and that's why it's been so long in between uploads. But now I'm back, and I'm here to talk about hippie flips. But I don't just want to tell you how to do hippie flips or what type of hippie flips that are possible. I want to talk about the history first. And to do that, we have to go back to the very first game that allows us to do hippie flips. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3.
I was just screwing around, and then I noticed I could do a hippie flip on this game. There you go.
Sure, kid. Yeah, that's a hippie flip. Calplex, give me the HD version.
To Woodland Hills is departing in 5 minutes from gate 23.
Yeah, that's as close as it's gonna get. While this video is not the first ever hippie flip recorded on YouTube, or it was just uploaded a couple months after the release of Skate 1, it still showcases the first game where you could technically do a hippie flip. Now that I covered that, we finally move on to the first game where you're able to do hippie flips. Tony Hawk Underground. See, that one's more believable. No more Tony Hawk talk. We are now talking about the first ever Skate game ever to be released. Skate 1 Mobile. There's no way this thing actually exists. Text Skate 3 to 22123? Yeah, there's no way that thing still works. This is also the only video I can find that ever existed of this mobile game. So I'm gonna like the video so I don't forget about it. Being released one day before Skate 1 actually came to consoles, you were able to play Skate 1 Java version. And it even has airwalks? Like, this predates Skate 2's ability to do airwalks. Can you believe this game costed $6? Now to actually talk about Skate 1. And the first hippie flip ever done was done by Black Box themselves, showcasing Mark Gonzalez doing a hippie flip at Parkade. The first hippie flip done by a player was done in the demo. On August 23rd, 2007, Adam DeBischop became the first person to upload the first ever hippie attempt. While this wasn't the first ever hippie flip, it is still noted that he was the first person trying to do a hippie flip in the Skate franchise. The first hippie wasn't hit until September 2nd, which is still within the demo. And the first flip trick ever to be used in a hippie flip is a pop shove it. Credit goes to Wall Martian for the first ever recorded hippie flip. Thank you for your service. The first hippie flip posted to YouTube post-launch was by a user named Jason Gray in September 15th, 2007, one day after the game came out, where he showcases a double kickflip at Oliver Elementary. Now this video has a bit of an asterisk, because in the description it says, finally landed a few of them after watching someone else's video, and everything finally clicking into place. Well, he's the first person who ever uploaded this specific hippie onto YouTube. So it's either a video that was uploaded before that got deleted, or it was a video that he saw in skate.reel. Skate.reel being the video sharing site within the game. But this is on Skate 1, so those servers don't exist anymore and you cannot view them today. Wait a minute, Bagpiper 2K? I see this guy hitting clips on TikTok. I was unaware of your OG status, my apologies. Well, I'm here to document the history. And the history says the first type of hippie flips people were doing in Skate 1 were double kick hippies, either at Oliver Elementary, Parkade, or this one overpass in Old Town. Each of these videos being posted in 2007. And I'm not lying either. By putting in this advanced search option and sorting by date, these are the only hippie flips you're ever gonna find. Even the first ever online documented hippie was the double kick at Oliver Elementary. Getting out of 2007 and going into 2008, we finally see the first non-double kick hippie with a 360 hard flip. Still at Oliver Elementary though. 1 month later, we see the first ever fakie tray, and this trick will come back later in this video. A few months later, more innovation comes in with the late flip. Not only do you have to time when to pop your trick, you also have to time when you have to late flip the rail. But that's just a late heel. What's even more impressive is doing a late back foot kick. When doing the back foot kick, the back foot is at the same level as the skateboard, leaving no room for it to go through the rail. That's why you gotta have some innovativeness and figure out that it's only possible on right-angled rails, so your foot can go to the side of it while your board goes under. And what would you look at that? A familiar face commenting on an old-ass video. Who would have thought? I did. I knew he was an OG. Towards the end of the Skate 1 life cycle, Skate 2 is coming out in a few months. And that is when players found out that you can actually do a hand hippie by using a no-foot air and clipping the board in your hand in between a pole. Closing on the book of Skate 1, Hippie flips are cool, but there wasn't a lot of variations of hippie flips. Yeah, you had a couple new flip tricks that were introduced into the hippie flip scene, and different spot locations, but nothing major. Until... But I'm getting too ahead of myself here. We have to start talking about the next important game in the franchise, Skate It. Unfortunately, Skate It is part of the Skate franchise, so I gotta cover it. While there weren't many people doing hippie flips on Skate It, there was one kid really cooking on his iPod, with the iOS version. If you look closely, most of these hippie flips, the board just goes right through the rail. But it's still considered a hippie flip at this point. That's just the closest you're gonna get on the iOS. Let's talk about the Skate 2 demo, which came out on January 8th, 2009. And on the same day, we get to see the first ever hippie flip, which is another double kick. With the ability of getting off your board and moving objects, players immediately became innovative with creating their own hippie flip spots. And with these new spots, they got pretty creative, like overlapping two rails so they can hippie flip the other one. Once Skate 2 came out, there happened to be a switch when it came to default hippie flips. No longer were the double kicks popular. Now, it was the fakie trays. Anyone who wanted to get into hippie flipping, their first hippie flip was most likely a fakie tray. The hippie flip craze is just getting started, and it's backed by the devs themselves, telling you that hippies are possible, you just have to work for them. Skate 2 is where it really takes off. The community finds out that you could practically hippie anything that you put your mind to, including a skateboard your friend throws himself. But the hippies don't exactly have to be on ground level, they could be vertical, and thus wall-ride hippies were born. That was probably peak innovation, but other players were using other objects such as a quarter pipe to do quarter pipe hippies, and others brought back the no-foot air hippie. But introducing more mechanics into the game, like the tail walk, they found out you could do a hand hippie with that as well. Another new mechanic was the no comply. So to add extra C's, they were combining the no comply with a late heel. Around this time on YouTube, this was a popular time to upload Call of Duty clips and being part of a team. This influenced the skate community to start their own teams, focusing more on hippie flips. If you were interested in hippie flipping, the only way to validate your skills was to be part of a team. And at the forefront of these hippie flip teams was Team G-Flip, hosted by Marcus for G-Town. Remember that clip of Skate 1 I showed a couple minutes ago of someone doing a revert pop to a hippie flip? This hippie flip is so iconic that it's given its own nickname, the G-Flip. Confirming with Marcus himself, it seems that the team name was named after this trick. The revert pop is only done in Skate 1 and 2. When getting in a manual and completing a revert, as soon as the revert is done, there are different tricks that you can do that give you different amount of height. The main one was a 360 hard flip, for it gave you the most amount of height. The others were a pop shove it or a varial flip, giving you a little bit more height than a high popped ollie. Or you can get negative height with a laser. Being able to complete a G-flip sets you apart from the casuals who just keep doing fakie trays all day. By the end of the Skate 2 lifecycle, hippie flips were thriving. People constantly hitting new spots or creating their own. And with Skate 3 around the corner, people instantly hopped onto Skate 3 demo in order to hit the first hippie flip. And I'm proud to say that the first hippie flip done on Skate 3 wasn't a double kick, but an underflip. Innovation! Let's go! That's what I like to hear! The demo releasing on the 15th of April 2010, 4 videos were uploaded to YouTube that day, featuring the underflip, fakie tray, a 360 hard flip, and 2 people hitting the same late kick. The next day, Marcus uploaded a video and showcased all his hippie flipping skills, and to flex on everyone, he did it all in hardcore. Since Skate 3 no longer has the revert pop anymore, G-flips are not possible, so the only way to get air using non-conventional means is with the caveman bounce. On April 30th, 2010, Kill Keanu88 became the first man ever to do a caveman bounce hand hippie. He was the one credited in the description. Ben was just the person who uploaded it. The full release of Skate 3 coming out May 11th saw no hippie flips uploaded to YouTube. It wasn't until 2 days later where we see the first Skate 3 hippie, which was a fakie tray. While the skate.reel servers are up still for Skate 3, you just can't filter it from oldest to newest. I could sort by most recent, but scrolling down the page will take forever. I'm pretty sure my Xbox will crash by the time I got to last week. A couple more days later on May 17th, we finally see the first hippie flip done in a custom park, which also was a fakie tray. The first hippie montage posted post-launch, unfortunately, was a tree flip montage. just the same trick at different spots. But a couple days later, Psychotic B would set the standard for hippie flip montages. In this montage, we see a lot of worlds first. Worlds first by YouTube standards. There's probably other people who've hit it on skate.reel. These spots in hippies were really unique considering it's probably the first week out of the game's release. He was probably one of the first people to even get on top of this crane at Quarry. Even a hand hippie off this silo, which I see modern day TikTokers hit today. This is probably the first thread the hippie where you get your legs in between the rail and hop out of it. And of course using the new mechanic brought to Skate 3, the dark catch, which he hippies out of a dark slide. Truly an innovator of the hippie flip scene. But of course Marcus shows up later, showing the first ever drop-in hippie. You know, because he's Marcus. Let's jump some time a bit because I kind of glossed over custom skate parks. Once players got their hands on a customizable skate park, the possibilities were endless. Like, there's no way you're going to find a loop to hippie flip unless it was made in a park. Look no further to the G-Flip compound, a paradise for all hippie flippers. Any setup you can think of, they probably have it. Parks are such a fun and creative way to show off really cool hippie flips, and hit things you probably wouldn't find in any of the Skate 3 districts. And you bet your ass they made a second park, adding more features and making it more universal, showcasing possibly the first ever 2-in-1 hippie flip, or the first double late flip in one air combo, or the late flip to hand hippie combo. Yeah, they're pretty insane. The second compound montage was in 2013, so I skipped a couple years, but the thing was is that this was posted in February. In March of that same year, they announced that in April, they're shutting down the Skate Reel and Skate graphics due to low player count. That also means they have removed some online features, like skate teams. Because of this decision, this influenced the remaining active players to stop playing Skate 3 and move on to something else. However, the most hardcore of fans refused to leave and still kept pushing the hippie flip narrative. Insert Underclass, a team focusing on high scores and insane hippie flips, all edited in a hardcore style, so excuse the light flickering. Their approach to hippie flips was about more abusing the Skate 3 mechanics and thinking more outside the box, like wall popping to a late flip. Their channel is currently terminated due to petty internet drama, but you can still find re-uploads of these montages thanks to a re-upload to a channel called Minimum Muto. Anyways, here's a taste of the insanity that they cooked up with. For example, using gravity to their advantage to bring the rail to them instead of going to the rail. Makeshifting their own loop hippie at Art Gallery, doing a backflip on flat and hippie flipping in the process, while also doing the reverse and a front flip. Hitting a 3-point shot off a wall pop to a late hippie. Since the caveman bounce got patched, we now use a late foot bounce, and use the hippie to that. Tail walks are too common, so why not just use a finger flip instead? Using the only speed glitch that's used in normal, in order to get a super dude hippie. Using the backward spin to get enough speed to hippie flip a piece of plywood. You know how wide that piece of plywood is? And possibly hitting the first ever double hippie in the natural world of Skate 3. That's not made in a park. If I'm talking unconventional hippie flips, I think this is the first unconventional one, at least for an attempt. Being rebranded to XII for a brief period of time, their last montage was in 2015, and since then, hippie flips came to a standstill, and the innovation kinda just died. Now that we're at the little blop in the history of hippie flips, allow me to tell you the do's and don'ts of hippie flipping, and how to get started if you're interested. Let's start with baby's first hippie flip. Anyone who hasn't hippie flipped before, here's your chance. The easiest one, the double kick. Go to university, spawn at campus, turn around, you see this toll booth? This is an easy double kick spot. Go ahead, get familiar with it. But if you feel like if you want to move on, go to Mega Park. And these rails? Easy spot for a fakie tray. Simply set your marker, do a 1 push, hippie jump 180, then do the nollie tray. To hit the tray flip, make sure you're in easy, and then low pop the tray flip. High popping it doesn't really work so well. If you want to get familiar with late flips, go to Rosalita, and you see this blue rail? The map is already laid out for you. You pop at this line, and then late flip once you get to the blue rail. Make sure to low pop it, not high pop it. And here's a rule of thumb if you want to do late flip hippies. If your back is faced towards the rail, you do a late heel. If you're facing the rail, you do a late kick. But if any of these hippies are too hard, you can always come to the DLC Sanatorium. And with this rail, you can get up close and personal and pop a 3 hard, a hard flip, a 3 inward. You will most likely hippie flip that rail. Difficulty does play a big factor into this, all depending on how high that rail is. If it's a tall rail, stay on easy. If it's a medium rail, switch to normal. Being in a manual can also affect the hippie flip. If not in one, sometimes you won't make it. Being in one, you will. Posture and style also does play a factor. Posture-wise, being in hunched gives you slightly higher pop. When doing these hippie flips, it's all about precision, so maybe that extra height will be beneficial. OG and loose are different from the other styles. In this style, the tray flip wraps around completely different. For example, you can wrap your tray flip around head-on without fakie at this Mega Park rail. In any other style, it just won't work. Also, the kick flips in OG, the way that it just rotates, allows you to get hippies that you can't do in any other style, like this black rail at Allmart. Let's talk about late flips again. Sometimes you'll come across a rail where you're coming up to it, or you're coming down to it. If coming up, preferably want to do a heel flip. If coming down, you want to do a late kick. Also, high popping into a late flip does affect the hippie flip. If I were to just flick my stick and do a late flip, you can see that there's a lot of space in between my board and my feet. But if I were to high pop a trick and do a late flip, that space gets significantly smaller. You can hippie flip out of a high pop, just only with the late heel. Any other late flip, the late kick, the late nollie kick, the late nollie heel, each three of those flips grant no space in between your foot and the board. Even the late heel is a bit of an asterisk because you have to hippie flip a very thin rail if you want to get through it. This, however, does not apply when high popping a trick. If I were to just high pop a kick flip, I could still hippie flip a rail. But let's say you low pop a trick and you're in the air for a long time. Eventually, your skater will get into a crouch position, thus the high pop position. So you will have high pop late flips. Here's the hippie flip that I've been eyeing up at Quarry. I launch off this rock and try to do a late flip on the top of this tower. Now the air travel from the rock to the tower is long enough for me to be in a high pop position. To counteract this, I get into a dark catch, which stays in the low pop position. So I can flick out and then flick out again in order to hit that late flip. You can late flip this rail, you just have to low pop it. Here's something that hippie flippers would only know about: tilting. When you pop a trick, the game auto adjusts into the transition you're trying to get into. For PS3, it has a greater tilting amount than Xbox. The tilting can help you achieve the hippie flip a lot easier. For example, this rail at Hastings, doing a no comply to late kick is a lot easier on PS3 than Xbox. So that one rail at Sanatorium that I talked about earlier, these hippies are called a pressure hippie. Basically, it's any rail that you can get up and close and personal with, just to do a hippie flip. Here's one you can do at Skate School. Here's another one at Industrial. Matter of fact, the first hippie flip of Skate 1 demo was a pressure hippie. I know I only really talked about kick flips and tray flips, only because those are the easiest ones to do. All the other flip tricks you have to figure out yourself, or simply just recreate a clip that you saw of a hippie flip montage. These guys already figured it out. If you can replicate it, then maybe you too can understand how different board rotations work at different places. Now to talk about the current state of hippie flipping. And let's just say, it's pretty dead. For the hippie flip side at least. The hand hippies though, they're exploding. Thanks to a glitched Christ air grab, people are now doing a hand hippie anywhere they want to. By simply transitioning from a super dude to a Christ air, and in between the super dude to Christ air you hold a gesture, your character's arm will glitch out and not grab the board. People on TikTok are loving this glitch. There's a new hand hippie being done every week. Another hand hippie that can be done is transferring from a Christ air to a no foot air, and of course you buffer a gesture in between. Here's a clip of hitting both of those glitch grabs all in one air. Truly astounding. Now for the actual hippie flip side of things, just because Skate 3 is the latest Skate game, doesn't mean that there are other people playing the older Skates. Skate had its 17th birthday, and in celebration, there are a few people still holding it down in Skate 1 hitting gnarly hippie flips. If you want to see non-Skate 3 hippie flips, I'd suggest watching Flurs, Elf, Master Cupcake, or Chris. Each of these guys keep trying to push an old narrative. Now for the two people that I know that still do Skate 3 hippie flips. Nick and Tallymark. Both of them have been pushing the hippie flip scene in the unconventional method. Basically, their philosophy is, how can I make this hippie flip harder? Tally, who has been hitting these sick hippie flips since 2013, has still been stacking clips, just not publicly. When we get closer to the next Skate game release, I bet you there's going to be a big montage. Nick, who has also been stacking clips, has been leaking some clips onto his TikTok, showing the most insane setups of all time. Don't get me wrong, there are still people that post hippie flips but don't really push the envelope as much as these two. Anyways, here's some leftover clips. Personally, I have a hippie flip that I've been attempting for the past 9 years. In 2015, I made a triple flip video where I was hitting triple flips with a friend. My friend did a late flip mid-triple flip, and it gave me the idea, what if you did a triple flip but also included a hippie flip with it? If you pop a trick and grab, you will be in the high pop stance, thus your late flips will be very small. So I made my own specific setup to where after I do my first flip, I do the hippie flip and then continue the next 2 flip rotations. Hitting this hippie flip has been done on flat, so I know that this rail is usable for this hippie flip that I'm going for. It's just lining it up after a flip is the hardest part. If anyone wants to beat me to this, you're more than welcome to. There has been a similar hippie flip done by a creator that goes by Low Estimate, but he did a double flip, not a triple, and he used a resize glitch on the catwalk, making it not a legit rail. Not to discredit him, that's still really cool, but I'm trying to go for the first ever triple flip, late flip heel. Other hippies that are trying to be done is a double hippie. Remember that double hippie that I showed Underclass do? Well, there's another one on this same tower I'm trying to late flip on, right here. Within the same air, you late kick this rail, then to late heel this rail. It's hard to hit, so good luck. Another one would try to be the AI hippie flip, where you try to get an AI skater to accidentally hippie flip a rail. Every AI has similar pathing, so just place a rail in their way and see what would happen. Usually if you do that, they'd get off their board and run around it. Well, what would happen if you tie an object to your marker? You first put the object in position, save it to your marker, then move the rail out of the way of the AI pathing, so once they come by, you then go back to your marker and then the rail will be in place. And unfortunately, once the rail is in position, for some reason, the AI is scripted to just bail immediately. So if anyone wants to force this to happen, please try. And that's pretty much all I want to cover about hippie flips. Just remember, if you want to really push the envelope, use any of the glitches that I've discussed in these videos, and see if you can make a hippie flip out of it. Until then, see you next time.